All right, traders, welcome to today's market recap. This is Christian Primer at Tribeca Trade Group, and it is Tuesday, June 27th. Risk disclaimer in front of you. Everything that we're going through is for information purposes only, not giving out any advice or recommendations, anything like that. Today's video will be a little bit shorter because I have to leave the office a little early. And I just wanted to mention this. I do this about once a week, just mention where you can find me during the day and some of the things that we do at Tribeca Trade Group that you may not be aware of. One of which is we start, I usually start my day in the office just right around 7 o'clock in the morning, preparing for the day. And then we do a pre-market session, which starts at 10 after 9 o'clock, 10 minutes after 9 o'clock every day. And we go over, what's expected for the day, some of the events, what I'm watching, and, how we're going to basically set up and trade. And from that point, we're looking for trades and looking for, what the price action is telling us in terms of whether or not I want to take risk. And then midday, what I'm doing is sending out members a comprehensive midday note, something that you can get through in about 5 minutes. Although today was a little bit longer because I did include a midday video talking about all open positions and my watch list as well, that I construct and tailor every day. So this is where you can find Tribeca Trade Group. You could sign up here to be an elite member. And I would suggest, if you haven't tried it, try signing up for a month, and you could see what the community of traders is all about. So let me get to the price action for the day, a little bit different than yesterday's video. I mentioned a couple things in yesterday's video. I talked about how the short-term trend was not looking good, and we needed to see, buyers basically come in and step in a little bit. I think that you can kind of see that we did that a little bit today. When we look at the S&P chart here, one of the things that I noticed, and this was kind of, I'm not going to sugarcoat this was a bit painful because the distance from where we were, where we got overbought on the RSI and extended above the 5-period moving average, and we had some digestion and a logical place, and unfortunately that just took a while to get down to, which was the 20-day moving average. And so far that's holding in here, and we'll look at the Qs too, and you can see that's pretty much where we got the bounce. So what's nice here is, here's where we were extended above the 5-day moving average, above the 20. These are the two short-term moving averages that I really look at, especially when we're trending above the value area, as we have been for the month of June, right? Because we can't rely too much on the value areas to tell us on the daily chart. So I rely on the what the short-term moving averages tell us, right? We were below we sunk below the 5-day moving average for the last couple days, and then today finding that 20-day moving average and bouncing. The other thing that I mentioned, I look a lot at the 1-hour charts, and because we get a value area for the week that tells us where there is significant support and resistance, right? And earlier in the week, we tried to break into the value area and we got rejected. We were below, and we broke in, and it looked like we were turning the corner, and the price action just was not ready to do it quite yet. So this looks a little bit different. You can actually, like, if you want to, if it's easier for you, you could draw like kind of a channel, and you could see that we're above that. Now, are we completely out of the woods, and does it mean that we go straight up from here? I think. So first of all, I don't know the answer to that question, but because I never know, I don't have a crystal ball, but I could see that we're still inside value for the week. Okay, so we're not breaking back fully to the upside, and we're inside the value area. The 80% rule is back on, so now it's bullish. But you could see that we're coming upon this 200-period moving average. I got a question about this, and I apologize, whoever asked me about this. They were mentioning in another system. This, of course, is Think or Swim, but it is the 200-period moving average, and I don't know why it looks different on different systems. But for me, it does its job, and you can click on this and you can see, the 200-period moving average is what I'm using here, and where is it? Right here, right? So simple moving average 200, and it works on all time frames. And so again, we came upon this last week, right? This was Thursday, and we got rejected. So we do have a decision point here. and we'll see if we can get through it, right? Let's talk about the cues for a minute too, right? So let's go back and let's look at the daily chart first. But you could see same thing, right? We were extended. Also, the 5-period moving average was pretty decently extended above the 20. Now we've got that moving average almost like a crunch where the two of them come together, and you got a nice bounce here. Now, so this is a good starting point, right, for the move, and you may have caught some nice trades on this because the price action was pretty good today, and the breadth for the second day in a row. Remember, that was the one thing that stood out yesterday, that for the most part yesterday, right, and this is where it is kind of a bit confusing sometimes, because we know that the S&P is top heavy, right? You always hear on TV and turn on TV, oh, the 7 stocks, are carrying the market. Well, it's not so much that they're carrying the market, it's that they're large and they make up a big portion of the index. And again, I don't want to go through this point too much, but there are plenty of other names participating in the market. It's just not that, it's just because that they're not as big as those 7 that they can't have a biggest impact, right? Especially in a market cap weighted index. If you're top heavy names, which you are, the performance is going to dictate those names are going to dictate some of the performance in the S&P, and actually a good portion of it because of the weighting scheme, right? So yesterday, for example, when those 7 names were going down, right, it will drag the indices down, even though that there was good what's called market breadth under the hood, right? And the small caps, I think, actually finished green yesterday. So, that's going to dominate on the way up, and it's going to dominate on the way down. Again, it's just math. It's just how an index is set up, right? It'll be a little bit different if you look at an equally weighted ETF. And I had a couple of people tell me yesterday, they're like, hey, by the way, did you look at the equally weighted ETFs? Because for the S&P and for the Qs, they were both positive yesterday. All right. So that's the story there. Sorry to get off tangent, but looking at the Qs on the 1-hour chart now, this is kind of interesting because we didn't, if you look at how the day unfolded, by the way, right, there was a little bit of, until the 10 o'clock number came out, right, and we really didn't get going here in the Qs till about 11 o'clock. So, we talk about sometimes if you're uncomfortable during the day, you could take off risk and find where you're more comfortable. But, this sense, you didn't have to chase right on the open. The market, the Qs really didn't start to make their move until after the 11 o'clock hour. So, which is kind of unusual, but nevertheless, going back to what we talked about in yesterday's video, the 1-hour, the 1-hour chart and the 200-period moving average. I don't think that we're out of the woods here in terms of like just blasting off to the upside, because you could see that this 200-period moving average is still kind of capping the move. And also for both the S&P and the Qs, we're inside value, right, for the week, right? We're not breaking out, right? So we don't really have the all clear, but I think the breadth was strong today, right? Here's what IWM looked like, right? Still, I mean, I don't think that this chart is great looking, but you got a nice bounce here, right? You got a nice bounce at the 200-period moving average. Also on the 1-hour chart, right, we did make it through where it failed earlier in the week, right? So, in terms of like, if you say like baby steps, right, like one step at a time, this is a very good step for the day. And there's still more work to do in order for these things to kind of get back. And certainly things could get rejected in here too, right? And we could come back in and we could test this bottom of value. And, that's one of the outcomes that you could possibly see. If we kind of come in here and retrace some of today's move, what you would want to see, or what I would want to see is for price to hold 362.35, right? Which is the bottom of value. If we start trending back down here, that we're going to spend some more time backing and filling, which again isn't the worst thing in the world. One of the things that we've talked about too is that the seasonality gets better as you get into July. We're not out of June yet. We've got 3 more days of June. And also there was a great post by the Traders Almanac. Let's see if I can get you this really quickly. Yeah, so here it is. This post came out from Jeffrey Hirsch. I missed it during the day. I think he sent it out before the close yesterday. But he talked about the seasonality of how the week after triple witching is weak, right? And then sometime thereafter. And he talked about Tuesday, June 27th, buying and selling July 14th. Now, this is great analysis. Is this the only thing that I use in my analysis? No, certainly not. But I do like to know when the seasonality is weak or strong, and I put that with the rest of my analysis. All right, so there you have. We went through the overall indices in terms of sectors, the best performing sectors. Nice to see the semis. They've kind of been beaten up recently, so they were up 3.2%. I mean, the home builders. I just sent out a tweet about the home builders. Just unbelievable. More housing data. Also, we had consumer confidence, which was much better than expected today. But this is now blasted through to all-time highs. So I always see people put these trend lines where they talk about like, okay, we're at these previous highs. Most likely we're going to get rejected here, but notice we did not get rejected here. This is very, this is a strong looking candle that made it through the all-time highs. So this group, the ITB, which again is not part of those big 7 stocks that you keep hearing, the financial media talk about, is up 36% year to date. That is huge, right? And it's very close to where the Qs are. So again, please don't take, when you hear these things, whatever it is on TV, please do your own research and understand, because a lot of them, I hate to tell you, but they don't know what they're talking about and they just haven't done the research, right? But because there's many more stocks that are participating. Are those 7 stocks responsible for a lot of the returns of the S&P? Yes, because it's a market cap weighted index, and that's how an index functions. And I think I already went through that. Let me go through a couple of the things that I thought were interesting. We talked about Generac yesterday. Whoops, that's not the right symbol. But again, there's some bad weather. I thought it might be a hurricane related type trade, but Generac made a nice move. I had to chase a little bit in the beginning of the day, but I got some of this trade on. And ultimately, I think this goes up to, that this can get up to basically 148. That's what I'm looking for there. Also, Broadcom, we'll talk about a couple of the semiconductors. Broadcom made a nice turn today. We saw a big option weekly call buyer in Broadcom. We also saw one in Lam Research on Friday of last week too. That trade also, I didn't take that trade, but Lam Research actually broke out very nicely, up 4.6%. It was also strong yesterday too. Rambus, I saw some calls today. This was a name that sometimes this is what will happen to me. I'll be in a trade and, I'm following my system, following my stop price. I get stopped out. And then the very next day I see some aggressive call buying and it looks okay to me. And, I took this trade today and you could see all of my trades right here. And even like I put on TG ACLS, which I decided I didn't want to stay in. And so you can see what I did right there. Sorry, I just wanted to change this there. There we go. And I got into a couple other things. I mentioned Generac. We talked a little bit about Home Depot. Home Depot had some really nice continuation. It did take out this virgin point of control. So I would suggest maybe some digestion at this point. I also really like the chart of Lowe's for longer term, right? Here's Lowe's, breaking to the highs. And this is a stock that's been trading in a range for quite some time. If you look at the weekly chart, it is now above the value area for the year. Right, we could go through and we could talk a little bit more about some housing stocks. AOS, which was a name that I tweeted out last night. This was a name that I actually added yesterday because I just thought the chart looked really good. Nice move up here, up 2%. TGLS is another one of those names within the group. To me, this looks like a cup and handle, right? Nice uptrend. Dip into the virgin point of control reversal. This looks like a cup and a bit of a handle and out to new highs. So I took some profits in that trade today. And for me, coming into today, I was all about kind of just hitting some base hits and some doubles because I'm not really expecting. I think that the end of month price action could be very tricky. I took Costco off at the end of the day, which I think Costco looks pretty good too. But I'm just being pretty disciplined here as we get to the end of the month. AZEK is a flooring name. This also did, so again, this. I was very impressed with some of these other areas of the market that were breaking higher. ATKR, which is, again, a name that really nobody mentions, but I really like what's going on too in some of the metals and mining, right? This is a name that's more tied to steel. Also, speaking of steel, Reliance Steel and Aluminum, right? This name broke out to new highs too. Right. So notice, I'm not talking about, what Google did today, or, those names are resting, I think, and I think it's perfectly fine for some of these names to kind of digest a little bit. You did see some really nice performance from Unity Software, which got I think it was Wells Fargo who initiated them. So they got a nice rating. Also, ENVX had some news and it really popped, was up 25%. 1766 is a level to watch. So there was a little bit of everything today, but don't get, in my opinion, don't get discouraged if some of those mega cap tech names don't come back, all of them right away. Apple had a great day, by the way, back out to new highs. But if they all don't come back right away, be patient with some of these names. I still think that's not a bad thing for names to digest after a big run. But be a little bit patient. What else did I want to mention here? Notice as well in our out of the box scan, a lot more names showed up today. So again, that breadth expansion. But again, look at the amount of industrials that are on here. And I tweeted out a couple industrial charts. I'm not going to go over them in this video because you have them on Twitter. But look at, that's by far and away has been area names that have been breaking out. By the way, this screen, I apologize if I didn't explain it. It's called our out of the box scan. It's very much like the Darvis box, except we're using statistics, right, and volume at price, and we're coming up with area names that are breaking out on 3 different time frames: weekly chart, daily chart, 1 hour chart, but aren't super extended, out of any one of those time frames. So that's the names on the scan. So it's not every name that's breaking out, but it's names that are breaking out on multiple time frames and that are not super extended. There's still some tech in here, but you could see tech is not the predominant sector that we continue to see industrials, the home builders and things like that. So I'll leave it there. There's many more charts to kind of go through, but I'm going to leave it there. And again, I think a really nice day of price action. I'm still long a couple names, but again, taking profits as I should be, considering that I still think that the end of month can be tricky price action. And for now, I think that we will, once we get through, if we do get a couple more days of back and forth price action, I think that there's a good possibility that once we get to July, the seasonality, well, we know that the seasonality will be stronger, but we might get some really good participation days as well in July. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow.